ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome back to another Dean Court Social here at Up the Cherries in all departments. Thank you for joining us. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. Also, a big thank you to our two sponsors, Touchpoint Telecoms. If you need your telephone systems done for your business on Tyneside or in Totnes, you can go to Mark and the team at Touchpoint Telecoms, and also our main sponsors, Dental on the Banks. If you need your Nasher sorted, go to dentalonthebanks.co.uk and the team there will sort them out for you and make your grotty teeth pearly white. There you are. But, of course, I do have a man next to me that you'll all recognise. He is my co-host, Mr. Matthew Harrison. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, all good. Looking towards this game, it's going to be, I think, a tough one, but one that we've got some fairly decent results from in the past. So
yes,
yeah, looking forward to the game. Let's see what this show brings.
Of course, and dare I say it, touch wood. His luck back at Dean Court will continue, but Eddie has not beaten us in the league still as Newcastle United manager. And of course, last time out, there was a 1-1 draw, a very, very, very unfortunate situation from our perspective. But we did kind of get the better of them at St James's Park in what was a 4-1 outstanding win. Matt, firstly, what was your memories of, that first game at Dean Court? Of course, we were celebrating 125 years in the special shirts as well. What did you make of it?
The first game?
Yes.
I think, it was. I just think that game's always going to be remembered for that goal being ruled out. And, again, like many football fans, whatever team you support, always seems to have some kind of issue with VAR, and that was just one of ours last year. Unfairly ruled out, really. So when you look back on it, it's a game. It was a very competitive game. I think if we didn't have that decision, I think probably most people would have said, to be fair, a draw might have been a fair result. But when you've got that kind of VAR decision go against you, it does make you angry, doesn't it? That we were robbed of the 2 points there, really. It's more, I would say, more the St James's Park game now from last season that stays in everyone's memory. Obviously, Clive on the day, just his composure and his flair was brilliant. He was excellent. Really stood out. I think his third goal, if I remember rightly, was some kind of long-range rocket, if I remember rightly. One definitely his dad would have been proud of scoring. So, I don't think his dad actually ever achieved a hat-trick at St James's Park, did he?
No, he didn't. So Justin did something that his dad never did.
Yeah. And I just thought the whole team that day were excellent, considering, we had so many injuries. That point just popped in there. Kirkes' 60-yard run up the pitch was fantastic in that game. Just the whole team, really stuck in. Newcastle were on some decent form then, I think, at the time. And we got just stuck in and considering there were so many injuries, sometimes, it doesn't give you many options off the bench. But that day, the starting 11 definitely put a shift in and thoroughly deserved that win. And I know you've quoted before saying that it was probably one of the best Premier League wins in Bournemouth's history. So, really, really, proud day to be a Bournemouth fan that day, definitely.
Yes, most definitely. And I tell you what, hopefully, fingers crossed, we have another day just like that. Another 4-1 would go down very nicely. Hey, might be asking a bit there, but let's look at Newcastle's results. And they do have on the board so far in the Premier League the one win most recently against Wolverhampton Wanderers, 2 draws, the draw up at Aston Villa and then Leeds United. But sandwiched between that was a defeat at St James's Park against Liverpool. However, I just want to take it back a step, and I don't normally do this, but their pre-season was very, very much interrupted because of one player. They had a terrible pre-season, only winning 1 game against National League side Carlisle United. They got beaten Korea by a Korean 11. Against Arsenal, against Celtic, drew against Spurs, drew against Espanyol, got beat by Atletico Madrid. Of course, that man is Alexander Isak, and he's a big loss to them. But do you think and do you expect a bit of an upturn now, Matt, considering he's gone? He's gone. That saga's over.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to Newcastle, when you have issues like that and you've got a player that is behaving in that way, and as you can see from pre-season, it was disruptive. And that's obviously gone into the season. And this is why I think, in fairness to all managers, all teams, all football fans, the transfer window should shut at the latest on the eve of the start of the new season. Because, it gives you issues like this where, and the only Newcastle game I've seen this season, the full 90 minutes, has been the Liverpool game. When Newcastle went 2 down and they come back. Great fight back. Some real good performances from all players, all Newcastle players then. But I think now that relief must be off their shoulders. They know exactly where they stand now. They've got no one chucking their toys out their pram. They've got the German striker in, Walter Maida.
Yeah, very good player.
And he looks like he's going to be handy. There's rumours going around that apparently, and I don't know if this is true, that he's going to be rested. Obviously, we've recorded this prior to the Champions League game, but apparently he's going to be rested against Barcelona to be in full works for Bournemouth. So he's going to definitely cause, our defence some issues. You can see that, especially just with the height side of things. So I think it was a header he scored against Wolves, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
So whoever Andoni picks at centre back, obviously we know last week we had Milo Sakovic come in, impressive debut, which we'll touch on a little bit more in a minute. You got Marcus Senesi, Diakite. It's vital whoever Andoni picks, to mark this guy for the majority of the game. He's got to get that, the selection spot on for that one, because I think he's going to be a bit of a handful. And there's someone else. Who else did they sign?
Yoann Wissa as well, of course.
Yes.
Brentford.
We all know what he can do, don't we?
Yes. Of course, Alexander Isak threw his toys out the pram. Yoann Wissa wasn't particularly playing ball with Brentford.
Yes.
So Eddie might have a little bit of a job on his hands with him. I'm surprised Eddie signed him, actually, considering. Hey, but Eddie doesn't take fools. And of course, there is one other player that did mess Eddie Howe around. We're not going to say his name. Newcastle fans, if you know who we're talking about, you do know who we're talking about. We don't like him either. But moving on, because let's not talk about that man. How do we beat this current Newcastle United team?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Do you know what? I think with them, again for us. We've just got to play our game, our normal game, our high press. And get in behind their fullbacks. The same old kind of. I think for us, it's what team turns up on the day. For Newcastle, it's going to depend heavily. I think if they get a good positive result against Barcelona, that could really pump them. Obviously, they've got the 2 new additions that are going to be looking at to impress if they get game time. Obviously, the moves. Obviously, the German striker already has made an impression with his debut against Wolves. Risa, I don't think has played for them yet, has he?
No.
So we've got to contain them. We've definitely got to contain them. The most impressive thing for me for Newcastle is that midfield three. I think they're excellent, and in my opinion, I think they're probably the best midfield three in the league. I know, obviously, teams like City have got Rodri when he's fit, and there's loads of great midfielders in the Premier League. I mean, our midfield is great. Adams and Scott have been excellent recently. But I think there's just something that with this midfield three, defensively they're good. They're good at winning balls. When there's teams attacking, they're good at winning the ball from midfield, and they can create from midfield. They're very creative. Bruno, Joe Linton, 2 very creative players, and then you've got Tonali, who anchors them. A really talented midfield, and I think really that is the catalyst of that team. When you look at the attacking line, yes, Isak is a massive loss for them. He is one of the best strikers in Europe, without shadow of a doubt. But attacking, there's a lot of attacking options there that Eddie's got that you can kind of a bit similar to us. They can interact and change positions and stuff like that. So whereas their midfield three, I think, is absolutely key for them. Absolutely key. So yeah, from our perspective, we've just got to really play that game that we play really well. It's as simple as that. If Newcastle are on a bad day, I think we can get a win, but you can never rule them out. We know what Eddie's capable of. We know what his teams are capable of. We know what Andoni's side's capable of. So I think it's destined to be a good game. I think it's going to be a good game against 2 good footballing sides. And I think there's going to be goals. If this one turns out to be a dire 0-0, I would be very, very surprised. I think, for us, it's key that we've got the likes of Semenyo and Semenyo, Tabs, Brooksy, fit, which I'm sure they are. Not heard that there's been any knocks this week in training or anything. So, we should be very, very strong in attack, which we know what we can do. And especially being the home side, we're going to have obviously all our fans behind us, which is obviously going to give the side a lift, even though, we've done what we've done at St. James's Park before with all our fans in that very top corner there. So, I just think, I think if we can penetrate in behind their back line, then I think anything's possible. Also set pieces as well. I think if you look back at, maybe not necessarily this season, but definitely last season, there were times when from set pieces Newcastle could be quite vulnerable.
Yeah.
You look at the likes of someone like Marcus Senese, or if Milo Sakovic was to start, could they exploit some weaknesses there in the air? But then again, if they've got some really decent defenders as well. I mean, they've brought in a new German lad, young guy, forget his name, begins with a T, I think. Wears number 12 for him.
Yeah.
If you know it, drop it in the comments. And then you've got Shah, what you're getting with him. I think he's a brilliant defender. So, defensively, they're sound as well. You've got Trippier with all the experience. So defensively, they're pretty sound as well. So, but I mean, if we can exploit their vulnerabilities, maybe from set pieces and things like that, which I think is still an area we probably need to improve on, to be fair, then we can definitely get the 3 points. Quite confident that we can. But again,
I think the player you refer to is Malik Thiaw.
That's him.
think that's how you say it.
That's it.
Signed from AC Milan, not Inter Milan.
Yes. Yes.
Back during the summer. So, yeah, he looks like a very, very good player. Well, I tell you what, it's time for us to stop talking and also to welcome on to this show a special guest and take it away, Derek, also known as the Mighty Win from NUFC Talk. And absolute pleasure to always have Derek on here to give his thoughts.
Well, hello, Matt, and all you lovely Up the Cherries viewers. The Mighty Win here from NUFC Talk TV. Most important, don't forget to smash the likes and show your appreciation for Up the Cherries, your excellent fans channel. This message is from an old geezer at your Eddie's new hometown club. The Eddie Howe Derby, as it's become affectionately known. Now, full disclosure here, because of the deadlines, I'm having to make this in advance of another Newcastle managerial derby, the Bobby Robson Derby, against Barcelona in the Champions League tonight, which I'll be heading off to very, very shortly. But what it means is that the team I'm predicting to line up against the Cherries could change considerably depending on the side Eddie picks tonight. There's even a rumour up here making the rounds that Eddie will rest our record signing Nick Voltemada against Barca so that he will be super fit to try and get Eddie's first Premier League win against the Cherries in 7 attempts since he joined the toon. And no one will know better than you Cherries about Eddie's winning mentality. However, I would be absolutely flabbergasted if Big Nick doesn't start tonight against Barcelona. Now, that doesn't mean that he will then miss out on Sunday. So, spoiler alert, I've got him in my starting lineup. In typical Toon style, we will be without 2 major summer signings due to injury. Newcastle's blight. That's Johan Wisser and Jacob Ramsey. But on the plus side, they are the only 2 injuries that we've got. So I believe we'll go with the following side. Unless he has an absolute stinker tonight, Nick Pope will be in goal. Fantastic shot stopper, but my granny is better with her feet than he is. So if your boys can apply pressure to him in his own box, there could be some handsome rewards for you. However, in order to do that, you've got to get past our superb midfield and very, very capable back 4. 3 clean sheets out of 4 this season. I say back 4 because I do believe we will play Eddie's tried and tested 4-3-3 formation with a back 4 starting off with Tino Livramento right back, Fabian Schär and Big Dan Burns centre halves, and Lewis Hall at left back. I think we'll have a midfield trio of human dynamo Bruno Guimaraes, the incomparable Sandro Tonali, and the battering ram that is Joey Linton. Up front, I think we'll say either Jacob Murphy or Anthony Elanga on the right wing, depending on which one has played tonight against Barca. Nick Voltemada will be the lone striker because we haven't got anyone else fit. And Anthony Gordon will be on the left. Obviously, as I said earlier, a lot's going to depend on how things go tonight, because Eddie has to be aware of the problems that were had 2 years ago when European games really took a toll on our then paper-thin squad. Fortunately, despite the injuries to our 2 recent signings, our squad depth is light years better than it was 2 years ago. It promises to be an excellent match between 2 teams who are both known for pressing and having a go. And needless to say, I hope we come out on top. And I'm going, my prediction, hard fought, 2-1 win for the visitors. Boo, I hear you say. Well, instead of booing, show your displeasure by smashing the likes and subscribing to Up the Cherries if you haven't already done so, and maybe even visit our channel, NUFC Talk TV. That's NUFC Talk TV. I'm sure Matt will shove a link to our channel in the comments below, and you can watch our after-match reactions, thoughts and takeaways. Thanks for inviting me on, guys, and Up the Cherries, but more importantly, much more importantly, how are the lads? Ciao.
So there we are, and thank you to Derek, also known as the Mighty Win. Please do go check out the channel, NUFC Talk. And yeah, I'm a little bit nervous now going into this game after listening to what Derek's got to say, because despite Isak going, they seem to have strengthened in other areas as well. Eddie's not a fool, as we all know. But I tell you what, let's have a look at the men that Eddie is going to have to overcome if Newcastle United want to walk away with anything. So here is our lineup. Matt, take it away. What do you reckon is going to happen?
Well, again, like I've said time before, it's not worth changing sometimes unless there's something tactical that Andoni wants to do. I don't think the team would change that much. Adams and Scott, they've been exceptional, I think, over the last couple of games in midfield. They're keeping the likes of Christie and Cook on the bench. The front line obviously is going to continue with Elvin Nelson right at top, with Semenyo, Tavernier and Brooksy. You probably will see some movement. You may see, Tavernier drop in a bit deeper and Brooksy go off, to create space to bring fresh legs on. It might be a case of Tavernier dropping deeper for Scott and Brooksy and Scott going off to bring some fresh legs on at times and things like that during the game. But I think, it will start like that. We've both agreed on Jimenez.
Yes.
Right back. I think that's mainly because I think predominantly I think that's what's going to happen. I think he will start eventually, whether it's going to be this game or not. He may again go with the safe bet and go with Hill, but I mean, call me maybe a bit overcritical, but I thought maybe he may have been a bit at fault for the Brighton goal the other day. But for me, the back line, obviously Truffaut at left back, Senesi on the left side of the centre-back pairing. And, of course, the guy that made his debut last week, Milo Sakovic, for me, keeps his place with Diakite on the bench. For me, I was really, really impressed with him. I think, especially against Newcastle's new striker, who's got some serious height, it could be a case that Milo Sakovic could be a very, very key man in our defence this coming weekend. But all in all, for me, I think that it is quite possibly the team that's going to start on Saturday. And then the bench, you can see Kluivert, who really, for me, I'm surprised I'm still keeping him on the bench for this long, to be honest, because I think he should be starting. He's one of my favourite players, but, like I say, you shouldn't really change a winning team. But you've got Cliver who could come off the bench, change things. You've got Christie on there if you need some legs in the midfield. Adley that can come on for one of the wide players. I know we haven't got Gannon Doak on the bench, but I think, someone's got to give somewhere. I can't see Cook missing out on a place on the bench, or it could be, you've got Krupi there, who could come on for some, give us some extra legs, towards the end of the game if anyone's sort of flagging, like Evan Nilsson, for example. So I think the bench is really strong. The bench has got a lot of options there. But yeah, that's what I think.
Do you know what? It's a nice problem for Andoni to have that strong a bench that Gannon Doak has to make way. I'm completely with you on every single move here. I think Jimenez has to really start. I do feel, honestly, James Hill was probably at fault for that Brighton goal. He kind of misread the run, but it was a little bit too easy for Brighton's goal. However, he's still a very young player, still, going to get better and better. But I think this is a quality side. And hey, we've still got Adam Smith out injured. So, it's a lovely problem to have. This is brilliant. This is what we have always wanted. There's a real battle to get a place in this starting 11. And I think it's going to be difficult for any player who is aspiring to get their starting spot here. No wonder, if the rumours are true, that Dango, was demanding first team football. It's no wonder that he did end up going to Brentford, because he probably wouldn't have got into this side considering, how we're playing. So it's great. It's a great problem to have. So yeah, I stick with this lineup.
There we go.
There we are. We agree on something. We always, to be honest, we do discuss it. But yeah, we do agree on this lineup. But I tell you what, before we let everybody go, let's predict it. Is it going to be more pain for Sir Eddie, or is he going to have a little bit of luck this time round?
Do you know what? I'm going again, same as last week. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win Bournemouth. I think it's going to be a difficult game. Eddie's not going to make it easy for us. Eddie's going to want to get his win down here. He wants to prove his point. Plus his side needs the points. They're going to be wanting to fight for Europe again. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult game, but I think we can edge it. Definitely think we can edge it. So I'm going to go with 2-1.
I'm also going to go 2-1, but I'm actually going to tell you exactly how I think it's going to pan out. I do fear that we are going to go behind in this match. And I think Watermada, looks a very, very good striker. I think he's probably going to score. And I think we're going to make some changes. And I think one of those big, big changes is going to be Justin Cliver off the bench to haunt Sir Eddie again. And I think Justin will grab one with Semenyo bagging the winner. So I reckon Marcus Tavernier coming off, Justin Clivert coming on, Justin bagging the equaliser, Semenyo finishing the job off. I tell you what, if that happens, I'm not Derek Akora, I'm not Mystic Meg, I'm not, I haven't got a crystal ball, but there we are. I've said it here first, so you never know.
There we go. Heard it here first.
There we are. Well, like I say, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell button. Thank you to Derek again for his contribution to the show. Put your predictions in the comments section. We'll catch up with Cherry AM for you all. So do keep your eyes peeled for that tomorrow morning. But until next one, up the cherries, and let's see how much more pain we can hand out to Eddie. Thanks for joining us.
Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.